Well, what is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Project Time Garage. This is my 2003 Ford F350 that I've had for, I think, since like 04, somewhere in that neighborhood. Had it a long time. We're going to do a few things here today to kind of, it's going to improve the appearance, but it's also going to improve the functionality dramatically for the way I use this truck mostly. I had an episode a while back on this truck where I scored this Overland rack or whatever off of Marketplace, pretty cheap. It also came with a retract bed cover, retractable hard bed cover, and basically the entire deal, the rack and the cover, were about the same price as about what the cover would have cost, and it's all in good shape. The reason for all this is the way I use this truck. This truck does a whole lot of pulling the camper, so we like to go camping a whole bunch, and you know, it does that job pretty well. Thing is, when you're pulling 30 feet with a camper, it's hard to carry your canoes. You would just have them sticking out of the bed, but this bed is full of stuff. Got a generator there, gas grill over there, right in the middle of those red things. That's some spare diesel fuel for the truck. Got our lawn chairs back here. Got a gallon and a half or so of fuel for the generator just in case. And yes, if you camp at state parks at all, the generator, pretty handy thing, because the power there is questionable at best. In the wintertime, it's not a big deal, but in the dead of summer, power goes out, camper becomes a sweat box. Pretty rough. Anyway, so I stuck that back there. Why not, right? Also got our little Orca cooler, and we got these swing boxes here on the side. There is not a lot of room for canoes and things, you know, when you're going camping. A lot of people put the canoes inside the camper, but I find that kind of destroys the interior some, so I went with this. Those things can live right up on top of there, get them strapped down, and take off. Plus the bed cover, you know, it allows you to kind of close everything up and keep it nice and dry. Man, that sun is rough today. This is early November, and apparently somewhere around November all the way up through like early spring, all the sun does is move around the horizon, and you pretty much can't see anything the whole time. Since we have this fabulous Overland rack, and it has all these awesome mounting holes on the side of it, we can put some things up there and get them out of our truck. One of the things is this gas can here. So this gas can comes with mounts on the back of it, and it has a little spinny thing here that takes it off. And when you put it on, it's got a key lock thing that, you know, keeps somebody from just easily taking it down there. So I figure we'll stick that up on the side there somewhere, get it out of there. Also, I like to keep not a lot of stuff in my trucks. Pretty much I keep that backpack in there basically, which is just, you know, a change of clothes and some shoes, sunglasses, hat, just, you know, basic stuff like that, just because can't tell you how many times I've been at our farm or whatever and needed a change of clothes and didn't have them, so there they are. Behind the seat here, there's a lot of junk. You know, there's a seat cover back there to cover the seat so the dog can ride. You know, winter coat, jump box air compressor thing. There's one of those cheap ammo cans full of just basically truck related stuff. There's bulbs and fuses and, you know, little bits of electrical wire and that kind of stuff in there. Just stuff that, you know, handy to have. And then I keep this tub of towels here, which is just, you know, hand wipes. But the big deal is this: I keep a fire extinguisher in everything that I own. If you don't, probably should, because you realize when you need one, you really need one. So I figure I can take this and mount it on the side of the rack too. You know, yeah, it's outdoors and it's a fire extinguisher, and fire extinguishers may not need to be outdoors, but truck doesn't live outdoors, it lives indoors all the time, so really not too worried about that. And finally, we have this. This is an awning, like a canopy. Its sole purpose in life is to sit up there, and basically it rolls out and becomes like a shade or a cover. Now, the one that I bought is an 8 foot in length. That's about a 6.5 foot bed. If I'd gotten a 6 foot canopy, it would have fit the rack a lot better. But when it's raining outside, do I want to be under an 8 foot canopy or a 6 foot canopy? I want to say 8. So it may stick off the front or back just a little bit, but it'll provide the maximum amount of shade and shelter. So that's why I chose to go with that. Form over function. No, function over form. Form and, I don't know, something about form and function. Anyway, I wanted it to work and not look as good, so that's what we did. This is the most exciting part of the entire project we're going to do here today. I want to take a second and give like a humongous shout out and a big thank you to the folks over at AuxBeam. They have been just an awesome supporter of my channel for quite some time now. I've done a few projects for them and in conjunction with them, and have just really been pleased with them. So thanks guys for supporting this channel. Today they have sent over these switch panels for us to put on the truck as part of our project. So I know everybody is probably familiar with these, or at least most of you probably are, if you're in the off-roading or lighting scene whatsoever. These are switch panels, and they're basically made to put in your truck, and they control this relay box here. They make wiring your lights up so much easier than having to wire the old Bosch relays and such that we used to have to do. Plus, these are RGB controlled, and there are different buttons or labels you can put on these buttons depending on what you choose to have them control. But the coolest thing about this, and the thing that I think makes this stand apart so much from the rest, is the fact that there are two panels in here, but they work in tandem. You see, you can put one of them in your truck on the dash or somewhere to be able to control your lights, and you can run a separate lead all the way, say, to the back of your Jeep, back of your van or whatever, and have the control of those same lights from a remote location. So what really makes these kits like this so attractive is their ease of installation. Most of them, and this one's no different, have this relay box and fuse box that mounts out under your hood typically. They're vibration resistant and water resistant. They're IP65 certified devices, so they're meant to live under your hood. But under their hood is this. So the idea here is you would run power straight from your battery to this lug, a good ground possibly to your battery to this lug, and then your switch pods would plug in here and here. So this would be like the remote, and this would be like the main one, for example. And using those switch pads, we turn on and off these relays here, 1 through 8. Each two relays have different amperages. So these two relays are 30, then 20, then 10, then 5. So depending on what kind of load you're going to put on it, is how you can do it. Now, what I don't know is, I don't know if the fuse is the only thing that sets the amperage rating. I have to think that all the relays inside here are probably the same relay. So I'm not sure if you could just take a 30 amp fuse and move it down here to this space and still have a 30 amp rating on that or not. But typically, it works out for me anyway, that usually the most important lights that I have are typically the higher draw, so they would kind of migrate toward position 1 anyway. But I'm just kind of throwing that out there. Now, when it comes to hooking up your lights, once you get your power and your ground sorted out, then it's really just a matter of running wires to your lights and just plugging them in here and here, and that's it. And in fact, I can do you one better than that. This has a spot for positive and negative for each wire, but I typically don't run the negative all the way up here. I just pull one wire from the light or from a pair of lights or something like that up here. I usually ground the lights back wherever they're going to go. Like for bumper lights, I'll ground them right there to the bumper, because the bumper's got a good ground with the rest of the truck. There's no point in pulling 2 wires when you can pull 1, right? Right. Anyway, the kit comes with everything you need in order to mount this and get it put in place. The relay box, it comes with a couple of different mounting options for the relay box for under your hood. It comes with the power and ground. You don't see the ground cables because they're back there in the truck already. But it comes with a power cable enough to go from your battery to the included 60 amp relay, and then from the relay to the box. And it even comes with a couple of fuse taps. I guess if you're looking for an easy way to grab an accessory fuse, or a switched accessory fuse, that maybe this is a quick way to do it. Comes with a couple of different ones. It looks like for a couple of different fuse types. You got the wide ones, and the narrow one's right there. It comes with 2 switch pods, RGB, which is kind of cool. You can like kind of make them match the motif of your vehicle. It comes with the wires for each one. Shorter wire for the one that goes in your cab and a longer wire that goes to the remote one. And also you can purchase an additional 25-foot or additional 25-foot leads. Now looking at my extra 25-foot lead, it has the same ends on it as this one, which means that if I do decide to use it, I will probably cut it right here and just splice it back together to make a little bit longer one. Also comes with a couple of these rubber boots that will go over your that can go over your pods. This one I'll probably leave on since it's going to be in the back of the truck, just to keep moisture and dirt down some. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to seal it, but it might help out some. They also sent over a couple of pairs of these pod lights here, and our intention is to put those on each side, front and rear, of the rack in order to light up the sides. So we'll have an independent switch for left side, right side, and so we're have area light if we need it. These lights are cool. They're rugged as they can be. They have heat sinks on the back of them. They're sealed. They got some good weight to them. The housings appear to be metal of some sort, probably cast, I would assume. And they come with all the wire you need, including a relay if you choose to use it, and weatherproof connectors, and everything all the way down to a button that goes up in your cab. So quite literally, you feed the relay power and ground, and you run the wire up in your truck, you mount your lights, and they just work. Now in our case, we won't be using all that because we're going to control them with the switch pod, but that's that's what you can do. Additionally, I have a couple of lights here that are very soft, not very bright lights that I'm going to have here that are going to, kind of light up the back area. Okay, well, enough jibber jabber. I guess we're going to have to get started with this project, aren't we? This is the bracket that the fire extinguisher came with, and what I'm thinking is I'm just going to pop it right up here and just let it ride laterally. See how that works out for me. I already had some Velcro here that I was using to keep the nozzle in check, and I think I'm going to go ahead and re-employ this anyway, just because in my experience these straps, they're very easy to take off. Obviously you want to be able to get to them fast in the event of a fire, but you can hit a bump and this thing can pop loose like that, and don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to take this Velcro right here. This won't make it any harder to get to the fire extinguisher, I don't think. Hopefully if the thing comes loose, it won't fall off. Huh? Yeah, it will. I forgot to put the straps through the actual bracket. It's my first day. Okay, now if it comes loose, it'll stay on there. I'm not expecting it to pop loose, but who knows? I've had these fire extinguishers mounted inside vehicles a whole lot of times over the years, and I've yet to ever have one come loose. But mileage may vary. So the can will sit up here like this. That's okay. I can deal with that. Again, gets out of my bed, keeps it out of the way. I'm not crazy about how it looks to have a whole bunch of stuff down the side of your truck, but utility, right? That's what it's all about, utility. I sure am short. I'm not gonna get a step stool though. That would be admitting defeat, wouldn't it? And this thing just has a screw thingy. Pops in here. And there's a key with a lock thingy on it. And that goes in here. I think it goes like this or this or this or something. Okay, now I got to pull it back apart and remember how it went. I don't remember. Does it go down? Oh, does it go to the side, doesn't it? I bet you it goes to the side. Haha! Success. Okay, but see, it's a little bit loose. I'm not crazy about that. We should be able to tighten this thing down like that. Pretty good. And we can just put our little lock cylinder in here. There we go. Can't be stolen. Unless you just pull the nuts off the back and walk away with it. But there again, there's about 25 bucks in the whole thing, so what do I care? If you're going to do this, you're going to carry gas on board your vehicle. Make sure it's ethanol-free gas, and make sure to put some Sta-Bil in it, because I'll probably never use this. I hope I never have to use this. The generator's full of stabilized fuel, so hopefully this will be enough. We'll see. All right, now let's set the canopy up here. Basically, this T-track, it's just got these track nuts in it, and I've already got 2 of them slid in here. The entire canopy is just on an L bracket that goes like that, and so the canopy will sit here and run down the truck like that. Main thing is it's going to be high enough to get over your head, right? Yeah, not a big problem to be high enough to get over my head. All right, watch me struggle. Ready, fight. 1, 2, 3, 4. I bet somebody's going to ask where I got this. You're not going to believe the answer. Napa. Yes, I bought it. No, I didn't know they carried them either. Yes, I'm too short for this. Yes, I need a ladder. Yes, I'll go get one. You just stay there. Look good from that side? Good from this side too. That's the finished product on this side anyway. What that looks like. I don't know. Looks a little blingy, but we'll see. And you can see how much the awning sticks out on the back versus the front. Again, you know, I think I'd rather have an 8-foot than a 6, just to have more, you know, just have a little bit more surface area, I guess. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Well, I guess it's time to take a look at that switch panel now and decide how I want to do that. Let me show you where I'm thinking about putting it. In my truck, the lower dash panel here is a dash panel out of a F550 650 truck. Got this at my local dealership here in Nashville, Mid-10 Ford. The reason why is I just can't cut up good original stuff, honestly. And the interior of this truck is it's spotless. It's absolutely immaculate. I've kept it as nice as I can keep it all these years. So the original lower dash panel I pulled out of the truck and put it in a box, lovingly wrapped with bubble wrap, and put it in my storage container. And I went and bought the lower dash panel from the F550 650 trucks because it has more provisions to mount stuff. But yeah, the interior of this truck is it's pretty doggone nice. So what I'm thinking about doing here is obviously this is a provision that was already in the panel that I just didn't care about any. Power pedals, that's my my airbags, the air down from my bags, the air up from my bags. And down here is where I had put a couple of switches. Now this is a high idle switch. I just basically pulls the idle up to 1200 when you push it. I think this is just, yeah, this is just a power port. And this is a, I think it was a USB. Yeah, it's a couple of USB ports that went to a radio that I used to have in the truck many moons ago. So this can go. This was for my lights up front, for my 4 big lights up front, my Hellas. And I think what I want to try to do maybe is I think I'll just get rid of this, this, and this, and I think I'll just basically put all of them right here possibly. That's what I'm thinking. I plan to mount my my secondary or remote switch pod up here in the tailgate area. I'm kind of going to go about this a little bit backward maybe. I'm going to go ahead and get the cable for this rear switch installed, and I'm going to get it ran all the way to the front of the truck. And I'm going to do that because I'm going to try to make that single 25-foot run make it, and wherever it makes it to in the engine compartment is kind of going to dictate where I'm going to put my my relay mounting box. So I have a feeling it's going to be really close and just barely long enough to make it without having to cut it and splice it. So that's what I'm going to do first. So what I'm going to do here is I've just got it stuck up through the tailgate, and I'm not going to leave it there. I'm just going to do this right here to start doing a little bit of measuring and just kind of double checking before I get too rambunctious with all this. That should be more than plenty to get it where I want it to go. Now, when it's all said and done, I'm going to pull this tail light out probably, and we're going to put a couple of nut certs in here to mount the switch panel, and I'll probably drill a hole right in the middle of it and send it in here and see if I can get to it through this light. That way I can run it up into the light cavity behind the light and out here, and you won't see it. But this will give us some, you know, some measurement ideas as we go here. So, well, it's too short. So it came up to about right here somewhere, and that's just not going to make it because you know, I'm going to put the fuse box somewhere here around the battery in that area. So I need a few more feet out of it at least. I got an extra, or I bought an extra 20-foot cable, and it's basically just a replica of this. They don't have a provision to plug them together to make them lengthen, so really the only thing you can do is just put them together, you know, the old way. What I'm going to do here is I went ahead and cut close to the end off of it just to look and make sure that, you know, it would be easy to splice, and basically it's 4 wires, you know, color to color, and you got it right. So this is the end that's going to go up to the control unit. So I'm just going to take about, I don't know, maybe that much right there, something like that, and that's what we're going to use, or that's what I'm going to splice in. Now this is the one that I've already got ran back toward the back, so that means that I'm going to cut this end off of it like that, and I'll splice those two together, and I'll have a long enough wire to run up there to the control head. One of these I'm going to strip further back, give myself a little bit more room to be able to put some shrink tubing on each repair. Hopefully I have shrink tubing that will shrink that small. I think this right here probably will. We'll see. Basically, once I'm done with all that, I'm going to put a big piece of shrink tubing over the rest of the repair. So I have to make sure that that's good. All right, so unless I forget to put shrink tubing on here, we're good to go. Never use one of these right here for your shrink tubing. At least that's what I'm told. But anyway, that should be a fairly watertight repair. So back to running it. All right, so there it is. It's at least ran. Now, I haven't got it tied up and it's not in there permanently. But I also did go ahead off camera and run these 4 wires right here. And I put them in this bundle, shrink wrap the ends, and put wire loom on them. That wire runs back to right here. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a a weatherproof connector right here so that I have a break point. In the event I ever decide to pull this rack off, I can just unplug that. Be a lot easier. All right, so I guess now let's figure out where we're gonna put, oh look, dog food. Bizarre. Where we're gonna put our box. Well, I've mounted this this bracket that holds the relay center or head controller, whatever you want to call it, over here and on this side. It's pretty handy because it's really close to the where the upfitter switch wires come out. Plus, it's on an existing bolt, and this thing here will tuck in right out of the way like that. So that's pretty handy. The wires that are coming up from the back, easy to get to. I should have plenty of room to mount my circuit breaker and all that. So I'm gonna grab a couple bolts, bolt this thing in, and we can move on toward the next phase of the process. This is the ground cable that it came with, and that is supposed to go from the negative of your battery up to, or any good ground, I guess, up to the switch panel in order to provide it a good ground. And I'm looking, and I just happen to have a factory ground right under there. So from the ground at the cowl, we'll go ahead and put it under the negative lug on the relay center or brain box or thing. There we go. So that's got a good ground. All right, now for the power portion of the program. So we're going to use this circuit breaker, and before I even start putting it together, I'm going to go ahead and break it so that it's basically electrically unhooked from one side from the other, because I don't want to close this until I'm completely done wiring up here. A little safer that way. As far as where to mount this thing, I think I'm going to get some disagreement from folks, but I think I'm going to mount it right here on the side of the power steering reservoir or reservoir. Okay, so there's our power and our ground hooked up. And we have our rear panel hooked up. At this point, let's get our relay mounted. All right, so at this point, we'll hook it up to the battery. Our circuit breaker is open, so we're safe to hook it up to the battery without accidentally making contact with anything we didn't intend to make contact with. And I'm gonna put it under this existing, I think this is the accessory lead on the battery. All right, so that has basically hooked up for the most part. So technically we could turn the power on like that, and we could hook up the button pad for the front and make sure that our relays click on. One button pad and one plenty long harness later. It goes here. We should be able to, oh, you know what, we can't do that yet because we don't have our accessory wire hooked up. Okay, we have cheap eBay light hooked up to position 8. So I'll put some power to it and we'll press 8. Oh yeah, it works. You can't even hear the relays. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome indeed. I guess probably the next thing to do is let's get the panel mounted on the inside of the truck. If you've never taken the lower dash out of one of these, basically there's two screws right here, 7 millimeters behind the sunglass holder. Yeah, that's a sunglass holder. And then behind the cup holder, there's a couple there. There's also 2 all the way up underneath the cup holder. I mean, definitely can't show them to you, but trust me, they're there. Cool thing is it's a gooey screw and it's in a hard place to get to, so it takes like all your finger strength to get it out. There's one. Gosh, you tighten these things. Oh wait, that was me. Hear those things falling? Yeah, that's acorns. They hurt when they hit you. I've got one more to get over here. What if I can just stretch across there and get to it? All right, cup holder. It's going to be one under here. Had another screw right here, and the rest of it's going to be under the dash bezel here. Basically on the dash bezel, to get it loose, you can just grab it and just pull, it unsnaps. And that should be enough to get this loose. There we go, like that. Looking at this and trying to decide how I want to do this, it came with this contraption here, which is basically like a pivot mount. But if you use it, the panel would sit up here like this, and this part would, well, the panel would sit here and this part would mount to your dash. But if you do that, it makes it stick off the dash quite a bit. Yes, you can angle it, but I'm not sure I am down to do that. I think instead what I'm going to try to do is just flush mount it like this. Actually, I probably have to be even further over like so, because I can actually retain that spot right there for another power port. Plus it hides all the ugliness that's going on under there, so I like that. And that's our finished product. Not too bad. Now let's put it back in the truck and see what it looks like. But this is the wire that I have ran in there for the head control, and I just have a firewall penetration. I'll neaten this up in a minute when I'm completely done. But this wire here needs to find 12 volt accessory, and the easiest way to do that is go through the cab back into the driver's compartment. But these trucks, you know, having some commercial brethren, the factory was nice enough to include a bundle of, I think, 4 or 5 wires that go through the firewall for you in the factory harness, and those are called upfitter wires. And on my particular truck, you can look right here, you see this white wire, that's one of them, and then you see there are 3 other wires taped together by it. Those are just taped onto the harness. They're dead-ended right here, so you can just pull them out. They'll look just like that, and those go back into the truck, and that came from the factory like that. On the inside, you'll see a bunch of wires right here, and some of these are the ones that go out under the hood, and some of the smaller ones are ones that run back over on that side for a upfitter switch package. If you decide to use that, all those wires are pre-ran too. But needless to say, this is the white wire right here, and I used to use it a long time ago to get power from my relay. So I'm just going to grab it, and it should already maybe have 12 volts on it. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so I have this yellow lead here. It's going to my white wire. So I have my white upfitter wire here with switch 12 volts on it. I've verified that works. So what I'll do is I'll run this wire down and hook up to it, and hopefully that will have all of the basic wiring of the switch box together. I'm just going to run a zip tie around all of these wires here, because these are all my control wires and things that it takes to make the thing actually operate. That'll keep them kind of in a nice neat little bundle out of the way. Well, now that we have the front panel mounted, let's turn our attention to this panel here, see if we can figure out how best to do this. I'm going to pull out this tail light. Just going to see if we can get behind this thing or not. Hopefully we can. The idea is to use this cavity here to run the wire down through there. That should work. To mount this this panel back here on the back, we're going to be using rivet nuts and 1/4-20 screws. If you've not dealt with rivet nuts before, these things are pretty cool. You basically drill a hole big enough for that to go in, which is 23/64 in for 1/4-20 world. You drill the hole, you drop that thing in there, See, it has these teeth on it. You screw this thing in here and you squeeze it together, and it basically kind of like becomes a rivet in that hole and binds it up in there, and it becomes a place to screw in a 1/4-20 screw. Pretty handy. I'll put a link to Amazon for the rivet nut kit and for the rivet nut tools. Pretty handy stuff. Let's drill some holes. All right, violent, but it works. So there's my 23/64 hole. We're going to screw our rivet nut onto here like that. Put the whole thing in the hole. Whole thing in the hole. Got to move my swing case. Swing case moved. That's it. We have a nice place to put a 1/4-20 screw. That's going to look pretty good right there. Now I'm going to drill a hole here to put the wire through. Well, camera battery died before I got the hole drilled, but trust me, I got that hole drilled, riv nuts in. This hole has got it's a huge hole, but it had to be to put that fitting through there. About the only option you got. So this will go in here. So that will hold that nice and neat. And our wire came out right there. So I guess I'll get under the truck and run the other wire, this wire, up there and get ready to hook it up. Now I just got to get some zip ties and zip this up so that it stays, you know, somewhat put. Well, that's got this one installed, and in the back this one I went ahead and put the cover over it, the dust cover and whatever, so that's got that taken care of. It's getting late this afternoon, sun's starting to go down, so I'm gonna get back on this in the morning. See you guys in a couple of seconds. Well, welcome back. 2 seconds. Yeah, that turned into about a week and a half. We have soybean harvest going on, so we're still kind of in the middle of that, so that's kind of been taking up a little bit of my time. But at least for you, it was really 2 seconds. So today, nice, pretty dreary, kind of chilly Saturday. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to worry about actually getting the lights on the back up and going, get it all put together, and actually see what the finished result looks like. So let me show you what we're going to do as far as wiring these lights. This is the cable bundle that comes from the front of the truck, from, you know, that I ran up there to the relay box. And I've basically just ran it under the truck. I've brought it up, and to hold this wire down here, I've just used these zip ties with the little sticky backy things on them. Look like this. And cool thing is you can actually unhook them if you choose to. I was kind of skeptical about how these things would work, you know, how they would hold up over time. But when I wired the light bars and all this stuff on this truck, I did the exact same thing. I took my my ham radio antenna, and I took you know, this same wire loop, and I ran it up to the edge of the windshield. And man, that stuff's been here for, shoot, it's coming on 2 years now. And you know, through rain and wind and whatever, it just doesn't seem to care. It's been through at least one good snow that I know of, so I guess they're gonna be fine. If they're not, I'll change them out. As far as what we're gonna do with this wire, I'm gonna put some heat shrink here on this end and get it all shrunk down, and we're gonna use weather tight connectors for this. Let me show you what I'm talking about there. We're gonna use these to make the connection, and the deal is I want to use these so I have a break point, because in the event I ever decide to take that rack off there, I don't want to have to cut a bunch of wires. I'd rather be able to just unplug it and take the thing off there if I choose to. Basically the way these things work is on your wire, you crimp these things down on them. These are basically just male and female connectors. Crimp these things down, slide them into this thing. You have your little waterproof washer things here, grommets, And at that point, it's just like, you know, a connector on a regular car. You can snap them together. They're watertight. Now, I'm not going to worry about the water tightness in the back of them necessarily, because again, the truck doesn't see rain ever. Use these pliers in order to make the crimps on the wires. That's pretty much it. I'll also leave an Amazon link down there below for these pliers. And they come with this, so you'll have it. Heat shrink tube that I'm going to use is this stuff here. It's got that icky gooky junk in the middle, so when it shrinks down, it kind of gets gluey. Works really, really well. So let's go try to make that happen at this point. Before I do anything, I'm going to take this piece of heat shrink tubing and put it up there before I forget it, and I'm not able to put it on later. There. So once my connection's made, I'll take that heat shrink tube and slide it up, zip it down. That'll be that. Also, need to make sure these fit through the hole. Wouldn't it suck to get all that put on there and realize you can't drag it back through that hole? Sounds about like my world. Before we get too crazy, also, we need to take all of these little grommets and get those put on. Because now's the time to do that. I'm just going to put them on and just kind of pull them back a little bit. Give myself some room. We'll just pick one here, strip it. Take our little connector. Give them a good crimp. And that's kind of a pretty crimp there. Then we'll take this one and we'll seal it down. Like that on the wire. And that should be a pretty good, pretty tight seal. And that's what you're left with when you're done. Now that we have all those crimps made, we can go ahead and insert these into the connector. And they should go in and clip and, you know, snap into place. Once they're all in, we'll run our heat shrink tubing up and heat shrink it, and that'll be that side made. There, that's our first connector put together. All we need to do now is worry about running the lights. Now, before we go hooking everything up to the control unit up front, we need to figure out how much amperage these lights draw, because we need to know which fuse to select. I mean, you know, if I have a light that only pulls a 1/2 amp, I don't want to waste a 30 amp fuse on it, right? Conversely, if I have a light that draws 25 amps, I don't want to put it on a 10 amp fuse, do I? So we're going to figure out what the lights are going to draw, and we're going to choose fusing that is appropriate for those lights. Here's how we're going to do it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much voltage the battery has, make sure it's not flat. So we'll go to 40 volts. We're on a DC scale. Everybody's happy about that. We only have 10.29 volts on this battery. I don't want to try to measure it with this, because at 10 volts my amperage is going to be a lot higher, so it's not going to be a real result. So let's find something that has a little more hotness. All right, so now I'm kind of taking care of two birds because I only have one stone. So I've taken the battery charger and put it on top of the Polaris there. Battery charger's on this battery. Figure I'll top the battery off while I work. Now we've got 13.9 volts, 13.19 volts. That's better. All right, so here's how we're going to measure the amperage draw of this light. We're going to switch our leads over to the 20 amp amperage side, and we're going to turn our amperage scale over to 20 amps. So now we're ready to measure. And basically the way this works, if you guys don't already know how to measure amperage with a multimeter, basically all you're doing is you're going to pass current through it. So in this case, for example, I could hook the red lead to one side of the battery. Forget colors plus and minus now. Let's assume both of these are, I don't know, purple. So I hook one to the negative. It's going through the meter. The other side of this is hooked to negative, so I'm going to hook it to the negative on the light, right? At that point, I'm going to grab my little back probe lead. Got those from Amazon. Handiest deadgum kit I've ever seen for like almost no dollars. I'm going to go to the positive side of this. So now I should be able to touch this to positive. That should complete the circuit all the way through to the negative side of the battery, and we should get a amperage reading as we go. So that's going to be 0.65 amps. And the reason I was concerned about this earlier is because if I drop this, if I drop the battery charger, notice how my amperage is going up. And that's because the lower the voltage, the higher the amperage. So as you see, as the battery is discharging, it's actually drawing more amperage through this light. So I wanted to make sure that I had, you know, plenty of charge in order to see what it was going to be, because, you know, my truck's going to have around 12, 13 volts on the battery all the time. So I know that these lights, I'm going to round it up to, I don't know, an amp. Let's say each light carries an amp, or I mean, pulls an amp. So what that means to me is, since I'm going to have two on the same lead, on the same switch, I'll have to double that. So 2 amps is about what these things are going to pull at best. So I think I'm probably okay to waste a 5 amp fuse on those. I may waste a 10, I don't know, but either way, I know that I definitely don't want to waste one of the big fuses on these lights, because they just simply don't require it. So test completed. All right, so that has us hooked up here. And basically I put the first 2 I put on the 10, and the last 2 I put on the 5. Now I'm actually only going to run 3 circuits back there right now. I'm going to have the left side lights, the right side lights, and the rear facing lights. This will just be an extra for something else down the road should I choose to use it, but at least I have 4 back there now. Also keep in mind I did not run the negatives back there, because I'm going to run grounds for the lights directly to the frame of the truck. Instead of having to pull 4 separate wires up here, that would have been a lot of wire to come up here. Now all we got to do is put the lid back on it and go back there and actually wire up the lights, because I mean, we're just a few minutes away from making this junk go. Well, I started off connecting these lights here in the back, and this is how I'm doing it. So this light is going to basically be the end of the run for these 2. My idea is I'll deadhead hook up there, run the wire across, hook it to that light, and then have a splice for power and ground that goes all the way up to the front to get to that connector. So basically I have 1 wire coming back. So basically I have 2 wires coming back, power and ground, that tap onto the power and ground here, and it extends on down to that light. And this is what I've done. I've used these shrinkable weatherproof connectors, and then I'm also going to use shrink wrap tubing on the top of them, just to kind of hide the, you know, the pinkness. Not that the red is any better, but if I forget to mention it, this is the wrong tool for this job. Don't use one of these. I have twisted this wire up, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff it in this rail. I don't know how well it's going to, you know, it's going to stay up. I'm probably going to have to figure out something else to do to retain it, but there's not a whole lot of options in terms of ways to run wires to this, unfortunately. To get that twist in your wires, you can just take the end of the wires, chuck them into a drill, tighten it down some. I got the other end in the vise over there, and just turn. Now, as you can see, they'll get shorter as you do this. And from what I found, it's best to over twist them some. If you over twist them, it kind of sets it like a perm. And you end up with something like this. A pretty well twisted wire that should go up in my roof rail a little bit better. I think I may have just found a solution to keep the wire sort of tucked up there, at least keep it from completely falling out. I have big honking rolls of Velcro Another awesome Amazon find. I highly recommend this stuff. I keep it pretty much everywhere. I bet I've got 10 rolls of this stuff. Cool. It may not completely contain it, but it'll keep it from drooping down. If it gets down to the point where it's just going to be a problem, I'm probably going to 3D print something to go up there to hold those. We'll see how this works. Well, fast forward about another 2.5, maybe 3 hours. Everything is hooked up and wired up. Everything is ran the way I want it to be ran. And honestly, it, you know, looks about like I hoped it would. Now that all this is done, let's go ahead and roll out this awning and see what that's going to look like. See how hard it is to deal with. I have a feeling it's going to have a learning curve. Check it out. Has places here you can attach guy lines for a little bit more stability, but you know, really this is pretty cool. Uses Velcro in order to connect to this support beam here on both sides. These arms here, they just hinge back here and fold in each side. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Like I said before, I got this at Napa, believe it or not. Napa Auto Parts has this on there. It's on their website. So I called my local store and said, can you get this? And he's like, yep, have it for you this afternoon. So, and I think it was 150 bucks, something like that. It wasn't expensive for what it is. So anyway, yeah, there's that. Pretty cool. Now we need to see what it looks like at night, which is my whole purpose for doing this in the first place. Get some light on the area at night. Let's wait for dark. And back here, the secondary switch panel. So this is where I can turn off other things like side lights, that side light. I can even turn off the big lights up front. And finally, the rear lights. Not bad, not bad at all. Well, this is what our switch panel looks like in the dark. It automatically dims the lights based on ambient light. So if it's really bright outside, this light will get quite a bit brighter than this. Also, I've gone ahead and put 6 of the stickers on here, and these 2 are just blanks. 2 of these aren't things that are hooked up just yet. We're gonna have a power inverter in here, and we're gonna have an air compressor on board. There are a couple of things about this switch panel that are kind of cool. First and foremost is you can change what each button does. Like right now, when I press a button, it turns lights on. For example, that's those lights in the back you see shining on that piece of wood. But you also have an option of setting them up so that they will strobe, or so that the button will be momentary. The way you do that is you double press the power button. So press. See how everything is flashing there? I can change these cubes, for example. Blue means momentary. Green means flash. So if I press these, as long as I hold the button, they stay on, but as soon as I let go of the button, they turn off. But this one, remember I turned it green, we can press this and they'll start strobing. Like that. Probably a great way to get pulled over. So we'll change them back. So double press. We'll change that one to red, that one to red, and we're done. Turn them off. The other thing is we can change the color scheme of this thing. So right now mine's set to green because most of my dash is green on this truck. But we can change that. And to change that, you press the power button and then any other button simultaneously. The light turns on, and at this point you can use this button and this button to go forward and backward in the color wheel. So as I press this button, notice that we're getting more and more blue, right? And we can go all the way through the whole color wheel. But we'll go back to green, which is what I originally had. I don't know if you can hold it and cycle through or not, but it kind of looks like you can. Excellent. So a little bit less green than that for me. Something like that. We'll turn that off and we'll see the panel go back and dim down again. There we go. So that's how it works. Just thought I might give you guys that quick bit of explanation. Well guys, that's going to do it for this episode. I really appreciate you watching and sticking with me to the end. Again, I'm going to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to the guys over at AuxBeam. Like I said before, they've been a great supporter of this channel. Really appreciate what they've done and the things they've sent over. The quality of their products has always been outstanding and I've used them for years, so definitely go check them out. That's auxbeam.com. Plenty of lights, plenty of cool stuff, plenty of switch pods and switch pads. Go check them out. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about us. See you next time.